What's going on YouTube? This is Rybo at the bench, and today I have another cut or carry knife review for you guys. Pardon the train in the background. As a former graffiti artist, I really appreciate that train, but that's a story for another time. So this is the Boker Kalashnikov 74, otherwise known as the AK-74. Let me put the box on screen as well, and you can draw your own conclusions as to where the inspiration for this knife comes from. So yeah, there you go. All right, so this is a really interesting knife. This is actually my first automatic. BladeHQ, in a testament to how marketing works, sent me an email, just the weekly ad or whatever, and they had this exclusive teal color. I am a Charlotte Hornets fan and, like I said, a former graffiti artist, so there's something about a bright color like this nice teal, that really draws me in. That plus the good price, I think I paid around 30 bucks for this, and the fact that I've never owned an automatic knife, I had to check it out. I really had no option. It wasn't my fault. So picked it up, got it in, and thought I would do a review on it. So let's do size comparison and baseline measurements. The first thing you'll notice, so this is the small version of the AK-74. Does not have the size on here, but we'll measure it anyway. So there are two versions of this knife. This is the small one. Sharpened blade length, you're looking at 2.26, overall 2.5 inch. I think they advertise this as a 2.5 inch blade, but obviously you have a little bit there that's not sharpened length. And then closed length in the pocket, you're looking at 3.3 inches, not bad. And the width on this guy, thickness, whatever, right around half an inch, 0.48 inches. And the weight, 2.1 ounces, so very lightweight knife. And then I'll go ahead and do some actual size comparisons, which I think is probably the most helpful thing. To me, a very good comparison would be the Dragonfly 2. So right off the bat, you probably get the idea. This is a very small knife. It looks a lot bigger than it is until you put it up to something like that. And then we'll do the CRKT Pilar, also a good size comparison. The Spyderco Para 3 lightweight, which is one of my go-tos. And because I have it, boom, the bigger version of the same knife. And I'll get into why I have this one in just a second. So there you go, same knife, two different sizes. All right, what do I like about this knife? Almost everything. Oh, and I should do a wristwatch check because some people ask for that. This is the Casio World Time on a aftermarket strap that I picked up on Amazon that I think goes a lot better with it than the original. Should have done that at the beginning of the video, but there you go. All right, so things I like about this knife. One, it is, the color is awesome. There's a lot of different colors. I've never been an automatic knife guy. I've never been a Boker fan, but this I think looks phenomenal. There's something fun to me about getting the scary automatic knife in a color like this. And you know, you may think what you may think about the color. I think it's awesome and I love it. So that's one cool thing. But overall, just aesthetically, you know, I wouldn't say it's a sleek knife. I wouldn't say it's like the best looking design knife or whatever, but I think it's really cool. It doesn't take itself too seriously. Now I've seen other Boker, you know, configurations where it's like all blacked out, black blade with the red. Like, you know, some of that stuff is a little too much for me. I like this. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's got a nice handle here where you have some texture, but not too much. You have these this ribbing here, which gives a little bit more in the hand. You can see that those are gives a kind of a palm swell there. You've got kind of a matching deep carry clip there. So like overall, just the aesthetics of the knife to me are very nice. It's simple. You know, I wouldn't say it's necessarily understated, but it's nice and simple, and I think it works, at least to me. So I really like that. Secondly, the blade on this, you know, I would say at first glance, I wasn't super impressed because it looks a little bit stabby and menacing and whatnot. You know, I tend to like a simple, you know, flat grind blade, something. even the pilar here. But this gets the job done. I've used this for everything from like cutting food at dinner to boxes and that kind of stuff. Gets the job done. No worries at all. I haven't had any issues. So blade shape and whatnot, maybe not my favorite, but in terms of how it actually cuts and everything, it's done really, really well. I think that the jimping is done very nicely. It's not too aggressive, but you have something here. You have kind of continuity onto the actual blade from the handle, which is nice. And that's really nice that it gives you something there. Other things, let's talk about the action first. So I've never had an automatic knife before. I have had a button lock, so this is my second button lock. For those who aren't aware, button locks, so imagine you push that in, and that piece right there will push over to the point that it allows the blade to swing. On a typical button lock, you would use some wrist flick, like I did with the Tangram Vector. With this, though, there's a spring in there, so you have some tension so that when you press this, it's going to allow that blade to just fly out. And then to disengage it, so basically you've got the that lock bar right there. You can see it probably better that way. But that is holding the blade, and so when I push this to disengage, then it allows this blade to swing freely. And again, on a traditional button lock, you'd push this and you'd be able to kind of drop it closed. On this, however, because of that spring tension, you do have to kind of push against this blade, and it's pretty strong. I'll talk about that in a minute. But that's kind of how it works. And so automatic push button, and it just flies out. So the action on it is incredible. I mean, it's very snappy, and I think that'll come up in the cons as well. But it flies out. You're talking about a $30 knife, and to have an automatic like that, really spring-assisted knives at this price aren't as nice as this. I think that it's very nice. Very, very smooth. No real issues there. The thing that I think is just absolutely phenomenal, I can't really stop bragging about this, is the deep carry clip. Man, this is just one of my favorite clips ever on a budget knife. It's got this kind of wavy pattern that keeps up this, like the mag ripping, or ribbing, I guess, that kind of consistent with the overall theme of the knife. But forget about that. So you have this circle here, which allows you to get to your torque screw there in case you need to take things apart. And you've got just an excellent deep carry clip. So, I mean, this thing absolutely disappears in the pocket, and I can be, there's a testament to that this is a bright teal color. I can carry this in the pocket, and no one knows what color knife I'm carrying. So, I mean, it is truly ultra deep carry. You're not showing anything. And this pocket clip is just amazing. I mean, I'm trying to think if I have here. I have a handkerchief here. Let's see how I want to do this. So let's imagine I am sliding this in the pocket. I mean, just slides right in because you have a nice ramp there. I mean, just comes straight up, but it's not awkward. It's not on any real texture down there. It is on texture, but it's a harder plastic. And so it just slides right in. And like you can see, I mean, that is a full deep carry. Really, really nice. And maybe I'll start doing this kind of handkerchief test on some of my knife videos, because I think that actually shows it pretty well. But the deep carry clip is just absolutely phenomenal. It's probably my favorite thing about this knife, other than the scales. So kudos to them. Just a really nice job. Other things, so the steel is not excellent. It's AUS 8, but like I've said many times before, I much prefer AUS 8 to 8CR13 MOV, just my personal preference. And so I've never really had an issue with AUS 8. Some people dislike it, but for me, $30 knife when you're getting all this stuff, I don't really care. Other things, let's see. That's probably about it. I like the fact that it's kind of standard torques there, no issues. I haven't actually taken it apart because I don't want to deal with the spring. But let's see. Yeah, so that's it. It's a cool knife. The looks, the cutting action, the deep carry clip, the scales, all that. It's totally awesome. Things that I don't like. Unfortunately, this one does have a few things. The main one, let's let's talk about one real quick, and then we'll get to the main one. So because it's an automatic knife, because all of this is done with spring tension, it does make it really difficult to close a knife. So you have to apply a lot of pressure, especially in its graduated pressure as you go. You have to apply a lot of pressure to get this thing closed. And if you're almost there but not quite, let me see if I can try to do this without cutting myself. If you're almost there but not quite, it's going to fly back open, right? So almost, oh, there, I got it. But you just have to be careful. It's very, very snappy. And on the small version, the button lock sticks a little bit. I mean, it is not anything like the Tangram Vector that I reviewed before. It's much better than that. But it does stick a little bit. It's a little bit kind of, I don't know, stick slippy, whatever you want to call it. But it's really not bad, so I won't even bring that up as a con. But my main con about this knife, and so it's really just two things. It's the spring tension, which is, for assisted automatic knives, that's kind of what you're going to get. My main issue with this knife, the ergonomics. It's just way too small for my hand. I think if they hadn't done the finger grooves here, it would be totally fine, because you have something that's about the same size as your Pilar, as your Dragonfly, these kind of knives. But the problem is, they built these finger grooves in, and because of that, I have to hold the knife at the tip of my fingers just to get all of my fingers on the knife. If I want to do an actual wraparound grip, I'm doing something like this, and at that point, if you can tell, like, my fingers aren't in the grooves, and so it's just not comfortable. So for my size hands, this is just not a good knife. It is really cool. I love it, but it just doesn't fit my hands. I want to either choke up, or I just want there to be 3 finger grooves here, or just flat. Have the curve come out here, and then just kind of take away these 3 peaks right here, and then you could just decide where you want to put your hands. I think would have been totally fine. But this knife, when I opened it, I basically opened this knife. I kind of said, wow, I get it. Like, I've never owned an automatic knife. I've never owned a Boker, but I get it. And within 5 minutes of ordering this knife, I ordered this knife. I just realized I had basically bought the wrong size. And so I will have a head-to-head. I will have a review of the larger version. And so cut or carry for me, this particular knife is going to be a cut for me. But really, it's only because it is the wrong size for me. It just doesn't really fit my hand. Everything else about it, I really like. I will say one minor thing. It is very... Well, because it's a smaller knife and it's automatic, it's fairly snappy. So you are going to feel the deploy a little bit more than you would on the bigger version. Not unlike, the difference between a Glock 42 and a Glock 43, if you're, one of those guys. But it's just a smaller knife. You have all that spring tension in there, and, it's pretty snappy. However, excellent knife. I don't know. This has kind of made me rethink automatic knives and Boker knives. I find that this is just an excellent knife, and I thought it would be one that I just kind of picked up to review and then resell. And this one honestly will be because of the size, but it made me immediately, without question, order the larger size, and I don't think that one's going to be going anywhere. So. I would highly encourage you to check it out if you have smaller hands and you want something that's, a little bit more like a Dragonfly or a Pilar in terms of the size. I would say absolutely check one of these out. I think it's an absolute bargain for $30. But if you have, regular larger hands, the large size, I think is a good option, and I will be doing a full review of that one later. So hope this has been enjoyable, and I will see you next time.